On this edition of 24/7, we focus on one of the most amazing and vibrant areas for business in the country today, the exciting Southeast, from the Carolinas to Georgia. Welcome to Atlanta, and I'm sure you recognize Centennial Olympic Park. To give you some idea of just how hot Atlanta is for business, more new jobs have been created here in this area in the last 3 years than any other region in the country. And of course, this is the home to such familiar names as United Parcel Service, Delta Airlines, CNN, and Coca-Cola, just to mention a few. On this show, you're going to meet some of the most amazing and interesting businesses and professional services in America today. The great American dream has always been to own your own home, but with the economy the way it is these days, many people are simply being priced out of the market. They can't afford it, which is why so many Americans are now considering what is known as a manufactured home as a very attractive alternative. And if you haven't looked at a manufactured home lately, you are in for quite a pleasant surprise. Just take a look at this home. Manufactured completely in a factory and then transported to the site by Horton Homes of Eatonton, Georgia. Let me tell you a little bit about the amazing story of this company, which, believe it or not, started some 30 years ago in, of all places, a chicken coop. And to get the details, we met with the company president, Dudley Horton.
We started it in an abandoned chicken house about 2 miles south of here. And it actually had a dirt floor in it. And if it hadn't had a dirt floor, I'm not sure we could have gotten the first house out, because we had to take a backhoe and dig 2 trenches to let the wheels run in so the house would actually come out. I was conventionally building stick building houses and developing subdivisions, and had been doing that for about 8 years. But it was harder for people in this area to qualify for a loan on the home, and I wanted to get in something that was affordable and yet was still quality housing, and decided I wanted to try it. My dad was opposed to it, but so I rented this abandoned chicken house for $35 a month and took 4 people and built the first house.
That was in 1969. In that first year, he built 100 homes in that chicken coop. Today, over 30 years later, his privately held company, Horton Industries, has manufactured 250,000 homes and ranks as the largest single-facility manufacturer of homes in the United States. Headquartered here in Eatonton, about an hour southeast of Atlanta, the company employs nearly 2,000 people with the capacity to produce up to 100 homes every day. Homes that come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, and amazingly can be up to 5 stories tall. To get an idea of just how these homes are made, we toured the company's 1 million square foot production facility. And as you'll see, it's an assembly line process. The same way they make cars in Detroit, they make homes here in Georgia. Our guide is the Vice President of Sales, Russ Hicks. The whole process begins on an empty steel frame, which is now being moved in here. What happens at this point, Doug?
Well, as you can see, Doug, they've already built the floor for this particular house. When the frame comes into this department, they'll lower the floor down, which has already been insulated and weatherproofed with this ripstop underlayment for rodents and different things.
Right.
They'll lay the floor down on top of that frame, then they'll lag bolt the frame to the floor.
It's interesting because all of the air conditioning ducts, they've all been installed already. They're there in that floorboard, aren't
We've already
they?
got the heating and air ducts, the CPVC for plumbing. The R11 insulation is already a blanket type insulation in the floor, so as soon as they lag the floor to the frame, it'll move on to the next station to get the walls put on.
And it's a very fast process from this point on to the next.
Every 30 minutes, this production line moves. There's 10 stations. Every 30 minutes, the production line moves to the next station. All right, Doug, this is the sidewall department. There's a 76-foot wall laying on this table. When the house and the frame and the floor come into this department, they'll pick this thing up and set it down on the floor and then nail it and lag it to the floor system. They'll do this on both sides. Then it moves on to the insulation department, where they'll insulate the walls and install the cabinets and finish some of the interior things that go on. Then it goes to the roofing department.
So what are we looking here that's all stacked up? These look ready to go, right?
Yeah. We only offer a few colors in countertops. That way we can save on material and make the house more affordable. We have the countertops already pre-made, so all they have to do is come out here and pick the color they want, cut the hole in it for the lavatory or the kitchen sink, and install it in the house.
You know, after looking around, I really get the impression you use the same quality of materials, lumber, etc., that you would if you were building a house on site.
That's right, Doug. We use 2x4 interior and exterior walls, 16 inches on center. We do offer 2x6 exterior walls. We use 3/4 inch tongue and groove floor decking, glued and nailed to the floor joist. We use anywhere from a 2x6 to a 2x10 floor joist. Owens Corning pink fiberglass insulation, U.S. green fiber blown cellulose insulation. I mean, the exact same materials go into our house that go into a site-built constructed house.
That's really interesting. And what about the cost factor?
Doug, the average cost on a manufactured home is around $40,000. The average size is around 1,600 square feet. Now, for 1,600 square feet at $40,000, in a site-built home, you're going to be paying around $120,000 or $130,000. So the house is built as well or better than any site-built home. The only difference is that it's built in a factory in a controlled environment.
One of the things Horton Homes proudly boasts is that there is a difference between a Horton home and those made by other manufacturers. And as Dudley Horton told us, that difference begins right on the assembly line.
It's the way the people build that house. They build it like they're going to live in it themselves. And about a third of the annual compensation for anybody on the assembly line comes from a quality control bonus system that they have to run a certain number of houses a week, and it has to be with close to 0 defects, or the department that built the defect pays for it. If there's 6 people in the electrical department on line 2 and they send out a house with a short in it, then they pay for the repair of it in the field. And what we did was made everybody in the plant a quality control inspector. And a guy will see somebody doing something wrong, say, hey, don't do that. That's taking food out of my family's mouth. Do it right or go home. And the people on the line will actually run you off if you don't do a good job.
The process is nearly complete now. They've already put the vinyl siding on. The next stage will be to go to final finish, where they wrap it in plastic for shipment. They install the appliances, put up the drapes, clean the carpet, wipe it down, and get it ready for shipment.
And this is a home that's already been custom ordered, right? It's ready for somebody.
Every home we build is custom ordered.
As for the advantages of a manufactured home beyond the economic factor, Dudley Horton points out that they are safer as well as less expensive to operate than conventionally built houses.
We wire every house to the National Electric Code, but we exceed that. We use no junction boxes in our construction. Every wire is pulled direct from the panel box to the switch leg of the appliance wherever it goes. And the insurance people say that most electrical fires that accidentally start in junction boxes. So we don't have a junction box, so we can't have a fire in a junction box. So our home now is twice as safe as a site-built home. Our home is about 20 to 25% less expensive to heat and cool than a site-built home is. It's a better built home. It's built under controlled conditions, and it's the most inspected product built in the United States. It's got more inspections than grade A meat does in a meat market.
Let me ask you a simple question. How long will a manufactured home last?
Should be on the historical registers years from now. We use vinyl lap siding or hardy board, which are 100 to 150, 200 year products. All of our windows are anodized aluminum, which should last for 100 to 200 years. We have the same 20-year bonded roofing that the conventional builders use on our shingles, and there's no reason that a manufactured house should not last just as long as a stick-built home with less maintenance.
As for the market for these manufactured homes, surprisingly, it is fairly big all over the country.
Primary concentration in the southeast Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico. So primary concentration is in the southern United States. But Texas takes more homes than anybody, Texas and North Carolina, the two largest states.
And what about actually buying a house like this? Is it easier than buying a stick-built home?
Manufactured housing has historically been financed, much like an automobile was financed, personal property. And quite frankly, that's been one of the problems with the industry. The financing was available, but it was higher interest rates, higher insurance rates, and shorter terms for the home. So even though we were offering a less expensive home, a lot of times the down payment and the monthly payment were as much as any site-built home. So in the past 4 or 5 years, however, as that financing became less available, mortgages, just like you would find on any conventional site-built home, are now available on manufactured homes. That is very important when you tie a manufactured home to the real estate. So instead of it being financed as personal property, it's now financed as real estate. And the biggest difference there is that it can't be removed from that real estate. It belongs to that land and is secured, with a warranty deed, just as if you were buying a site-built home.
After more than 30 years in business, Dudley Horton thinks the future looks extremely bright for his industry.
I'm more optimistic about the future of this industry now than when I went in it January 1st, 1970. Because site-built housing has become so much more expensive, and the availability of skilled carpenters in a lot of areas is just not there, and we're the only alternative. During this 30 years, we have improved our product to where there's less disparity between our product and a site-built home, so people are beginning to look at it and say, I like what I see here. We have an affordable, quality product that's available, and unless folks quit having children and the children quit growing up, the future for manufactured housing in this country is tremendous.
So there you are, the incredible story of Horton Homes, a company that today employs almost 2,000 people, has an annual payroll in excess of $40 million, and builds homes that are occupied by people living all over the world. And just think, it all started in a chicken coop. I'm Doug Llewellyn, reporting from Eatonton, Georgia.